Hi, everyone. So while I'm getting things set up, what I would like you to do, as has been our routine the last few times, please take out your house on Mango Street. While the syllabus says and the module says that we are on George Washington Gomez, which is correct, you should be reading that book. Yeah, good. No, that's right. But we're going to make an exception this week because it's rough draft week. And the rough draft is the hardest part of the writing because that's the first step. Okay. So what I would like you to do right now to prepare for today's class is to review any part of the house on Mango Street that is kind of fuzzy to you, but you think it would help you with your argument. Okay. We need to be selective with our reading. We need to be strategic with it. I don't want anyone rereading the whole novel. I know it's short and it seems very doable, okay? But at some point, we just need to jump into the writing process. I know for this class, less than half of you have submitted rough drafts. So we need to go with what we have right now, okay? You've got to get that draft out there and you got to get some feedback on it, either from me or from your classmates, okay? Even though the rough draft was due on Tuesday and the peer review is technically due tonight, okay? Late is better than never, okay? So make sure, please, to work on that rough draft, get it in, and I will do what I can to give you a peer review, okay? It just depends on availability, okay? All right, so for right now, return to the house on Mango Street, review any part of the novel that you think is going to help you out with getting that draft done today. And I'm going to continue to get things set up in here. Okay. Morning. Is it Alexis? Yeah. Great. Good to see you again. Okay, Ileana, I've made you co-host, so if you could please let in anyone from the waiting room while I continue to get things set up, I'd appreciate that. Oh, you guys, I didn't even see your wristbands. What color do you have today? Yeah. Okay. Everyone, it looks like the computer monitor in the classroom is not turning on. So normally what I try to do is whatever I'm showing them for Canvas at home, I also display to you guys here. So that's not going to work. But if you have a laptop with you, okay, or you have some other smart device where you can access the internet and log into Tech Connect Zoom and you can see the same things, I think that would be best. Otherwise, I'll just do my best to kind of walk you through stuff. It's crazy. Everyone bear with me at home. We've got a little bit of a tech problem in the classroom that I need to attend to right away.
Recording in progress.
Does it help if you mute it? Yeah, okay. You know, I've been waiting for that to happen. I'm surprised it's like week 5 and that's the first time that happens. Like when we first started the pandemic and we had like multiple Zooms going on in the house, we experienced the echo. Yes, yeah, go ahead. Okay, everyone, so I just wrote on the board the lesson plan for today. I'll type it up here into the chat. All right, so, you know, we start off with a little bit of reading to kind of check in strategically with the parts of the house on Mango Street that we need to attend to. There we go. I do not encourage you to reread the whole novel, okay? At this point, you should be picking out the parts that are gonna be most helpful to get you to make a claim and to find evidence, okay? When it comes to looking for evidence, sometimes we can use rereading as a form of procrastinating, okay? Like an elaborate procrastination. Hey, I'm doing work, right? This is the thing that I need to study better. Really what you should do is you should be making your claims, okay? You should be making a list of claims that you think you need to prove. And that all starts with your thesis claim. So today we're going to review the process involved in drafting. This is the lecture material that I posted at the beginning of the week. Each of us might be at a different spot, okay? But regardless of the place that we're at, we have to know what's the big question that needs to be answered in this paper, okay? And then we have to come up with a strategy for how we are going to answer it, okay? that will direct our reading. That will inform which parts of the novel should you return to, okay? There are other ways that you can take shortcuts with the reading in a sense, right? Go back to the discussion boards. Remember the week 3 discussion board, I asked you questions about our protagonist, Esperanza, right? Some of you brought up issues in House on Mango Street the week before that with the strange passage, okay? So see what your classmates have said, okay? Using the discussion boards more as like a way to brainstorm, right? A way to kind of remind you of maybe what most people think, okay? That's something that could really help you write your introduction. Remember, the first part of the introduction is common understanding, right? What do most people think about something? That's what the discussion board can demonstrate, the way most people see Esperanza, okay? So there are different resources we have available to us, okay? And when we know the claims that we want to make, the thesis statement, the topic sentences that follow, okay, we can start to use these resources more effectively in a way that saves time rather than just kind of aimlessly reviewing the novel or the discussion boards themselves, okay? So my major point of emphasis today will be creating an informal outline, okay? And I'm going to show you what that looks like. I have that pre-write posted to the course website. But I really encourage you all to do that. It will help you structure the paper. It will help the paper make sense because you'll understand the path you plan to take. It will help you figure out what quotes do you need, right? So that kind of guidance the claims provide, but they also, as I was talking with a couple of your classmates before I started recording, that also gives you the opportunity for inserting your own voice, okay? Some of us might get lost in all of the quotes, right? Well, the claim is where you tell me what you think, okay? One more thing while I'm just kind of blurting out all of these ideas that come into my mind based on this great conversation I had with some of your classmates. If you're stuck on a claim, by that I mean if you don't know what to claim, sometimes the best thing to do is to take a quote that you think is meaningful, right? One that you probably are going to use in your paper and start analyzing it, interpreting the details of it. Take a sentence from your analysis and move it to the top of the paragraph. That's now the topic sentence claim, okay? So for those of us who work better with writing, with less planning, but just by jumping into the writing process, okay? Take out your quotes, jump into it, start analyzing them, and then take that sentence at the very end of your paragraph and move it to the top, okay? That'll be a way for you to have something that is debatable, hopefully something that is specific that you will claim, and that will guide the paragraph. Then from there, you go back and you edit, okay? Once you have your claim, you know how to edit. You know what belongs and what doesn't belong. If you're trying to claim that Esperanza is independent, then having some quote about how she's mean to her sister, that's useless. That's not going to make any sense right there, okay? But having some quote that demonstrates, right, her unique thinking, okay, how she stands out in some ways, right, that you could work with, right? So our claims tell us what belongs and what doesn't belong. But if you don't have a claim, it's going to be very hard to make those kinds of editing decisions, okay? So we'll return to that in just a little bit. All right, so what's on the agenda for today? We did some reading. We're going to do some reflecting on our writing skills. Want to see where we're at. Okay. After that, we'll be reviewing a couple of resources that I've posted. There's a video on how to check the feedback I gave you on your mini essay. I want to make sure you're all aware of that. The other thing is the drafting process, which I've already alluded to. And finally, we're going to draft. Okay. I want to make sure that you guys are writing during this time. I will also give you time to do the peer review, okay? Because I want to be here to answer questions you have that are coming up while you're actually doing the work, okay? I think that's probably at this stage the best way that I can be helpful, okay? All right, so let's jump into the reflection. For those of you who are at home, Log into Canvas and go to our homepage, okay, for the week 5 module. I post a question each week for you to think about. You know, I call it the guiding question. It's on the homepage. In fact, let me see if I can bring this up right now for us. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so I'm now sharing my screen. I'm gonna scroll down here. There you go, you can see the guiding question. So the last few weeks, the guiding question has been about the house on Mango Street. Most likely it's been about the characters, okay, specifically Esperanza. This week though, the focus is you, okay? It's checking in with what have you learned so far and how do you feel, how effective do these things feel for you? So what writing skills are you confident with right now, okay? I would like you to answer that question in a reflection, okay? So doing so will help us maybe recognize, hey, there is something I do know, right? And that is a strength I can rely on, and that can give me some confidence, especially if we're having a hard time getting started with writing, okay? So what I did was I listed the various writing skills that I have taught you so far, okay? And these are the ones that I'm grading you on, okay? I'm not grading you on things that I haven't taught you, things that maybe you're expected to know before you come in here. It's more like, what have I given you? That's what I need to see, okay? That includes making claims. We've just talked about that. Backing those claims up with reason and evidence, providing well-developed support sandwiches. That's how you present the evidence. And that's what the first few bullet points are. They're just about how do we make a point in a body paragraph. They're basically the skills that you demonstrated in the mini essay. So that is for 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 skills, okay, are all mini essay skills. Then come the next few skills, the ones that we just did last week. And that's writing an introduction, okay? Developing common understanding, the context, that's the first part of the intro. Then there's recognizing a problem with that common understanding. I've said this before, and I'll say it throughout the semester, this is the hardest skill to develop, okay? And because I know that introducing a problem that your whole argument is based on, because I know that's the hardest skill, I wrote your prompt in a special way. I put in bold the problem. I basically gave you guys the problem, okay? In a broad way, you all have to make it your own. Esperanza wants something, okay? It's blocking her development, okay? But we know by the end of the story, for those of us who've completed it, that she does develop, okay? So the big question we have to ask ourselves is, what causes her to develop? How does she develop? What causes her to change from the beginning to the end, okay? Now, one of your fellow Puentistas, she's in the other class. I was reviewing her rough draft and I thought she did a really great thing. She copied and pasted the question, the big question that I put on the prompt. She put that at the top of her rough draft, okay? I recommend everybody does that very thing. I thought that was such a smart idea because we get lost when we're writing. We're tired. We got other stuff going on in our life, okay? That can become a distraction, you know, whether it's, you know, a simple responsibility like you got to go take out the trash or something much more serious. You got to go take care of a relative, right? These things pull us away from our writing. We don't write in a bubble. So we have to find strategies to help us remember what our focus is, okay? I think copying and pasting that question, putting it at the top of your draft is a really great idea. When you get lost, you got to come back to that, right? I have to answer this question here in this paper. How does she develop? Okay. What's the insight she comes to at the end? Okay. All right. So just a strategy that I think is useful there. Answering that problem, well, that's what your thesis statement does. Your thesis statement is an answer to that question. Okay. Problem-based arguments. are significant. They motivate our writing because they give us this purpose. We have to deal with this problem. We have to provide some kind of a response to it. So that will help you with those two sections. And then the last thing, my chat box is in the way here. There it is. The last thing that I've worked with you on so far is writing complete sentences. Okay, now that's a grammar skill. I'm going to give you permission to forget that for the rough draft, okay? Because what I don't want is for you to over edit yourself, okay? I don't want you to get into that editing mode right now for the rough draft, because once you turn on, once you release the police, okay? That's that inner critical voice, okay? It is hard to shut them up. It's hard to put them back in. You need that, okay? That mechanism, that psychological mechanism helps us in life, okay, when used appropriately. We will turn that on, we'll let them out next week, okay, when we get into the editing stage. Right now, we need our ideas to run freely, okay? We need to first see what do we think, okay? So don't worry about complete sentences right now, okay? Don't worry about using the best words, okay, right now. Focus more on what do you think? Show me what you think on paper, okay? Type it out, all right? Especially for those of us who haven't submitted anything yet, your goal is just to write, just put something out there, okay? I am positive that there are useful ideas, even great ideas, okay, that you are probably dismissing, okay, because it's not finished yet or it's not perfect yet, okay? For those of us that haven't written, just write, okay? Most important thing, okay? All right, so let's answer this question right now. Let's do it a little bit more systematically, okay? For those of us in class, I'll make sure to write the reflection question on the board. For those of you at home, okay, we're gonna take 5 minutes. We're gonna do a reflection. You're answering these questions here. What writing skills are you confident with? Okay, look at the list below. What writing skills are you struggling with right now for the rough draft? Okay, and then the last question is, well, how can you strengthen these skills? Okay, and I hesitate to use the plural, skills, right? Even if you just picked out one skill, right? Pick out the one you think is most important, okay? That may be the one that's blocking you from writing, right? Just take your time to go relearn that one, okay? All right, so please answer the reflection question. I'm going to be taking attendance while you are doing that. Set the timer right now. Okay, please go ahead and do that. I'm going to check the chat. Yes, hi, Hydra. Thank you very much. I will be taking attendance in a little bit. So this is a little self-assessment right now, okay? See where we're at. Ileana, I'm gonna do a quick whiteboard check. So let's see, I'm gonna take this off of autofocus. How's that, Ileana? Is the glare too much?
Grainy.
Rainy. All right, I'm gonna try, you know what, it could be because it's still adjusting. I'm gonna zoom in. And then I'm gonna move up a little bit.
It seems a little better.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. Okay, Maria. I'm gonna take it. Oh, good, sorry, thank you. So yeah, just unmute yourself and let me know you're here. All right, Yahaira?
Here.
Great, thank you. Yulisa? Yulisa? Okay,
Here, Mr. Good morning. Sorry. My mute button wasn't unmuting.
I've had that issue too. Okay. Heidi?
Here.
Great, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Caitlin? Caitlin? Okay. Brianna?
Here. Good morning.
Morning. Karina? Karina, thank you. I had somewhere else. Evelyn? Evelyn? No, okay. Anthony?
Here.
Good morning. Thank you. Lizbeth? Lizbeth? Here. Okay. Rachel? Here. Can ignore that. Keep developing your reflection. Crystal? Crystal? Okay. Sarah?
Here.
Good morning. Alexis, I know you're here. Okay. Angelina?
Here.
Angelina, good morning. Thank you. Joshua?
Here.
Thank you. Amanda? Amanda? No? Okay. Fabian?
Here.
Thank you. And Yesenia?
Here.
Great, thank you. Okay. Okay, so let's do a quick check-in with your skills right now. And you know, this is obviously based on your own perception of this, right? And that's what matters most because that's where our confidence comes from, okay? And we do need to have confidence, right? Along with accurate self-assessment when we're writing, okay? Obviously, having low confidence, that could be bad because that could prevent you from writing. Having too much confidence might make you think you don't need to work on anything, right? So we want to have the right amount, okay? Enough to get you to do the work and to keep working on improving, okay? So it's important for us to sometimes acknowledge, you know, when we're struggling with a lot of things, that could block out what we actually can do, right? And so returning to that belief, like, hey, you know what, I may not be able to do these other things, but I know I've got this skill set down, right? That's where the mini essay comes into play, right? Sometimes returning to that to see my comments or to remember how you felt when you were writing it, that can help a lot. So what are some things that we feel pretty confident with? Like good enough to, yeah, to return to? Karina, what was that?
Providing reasons.
Providing reasons. Okay, great. All right, remember the reasons. It's a form of support for a claim. And you know, the idea behind it is a because statement, right? We believe this because, right? Once we introduce that because, we're now adding a reason into it. Reasons are so important because, here I'm using one, right? They connect our claim to our support, okay? They're the kind of that bridge to the evidence, okay? So good. Other things that we kind of take some confidence in. For those of you at home, feel free to type it into the chat or just unmute yourself and share.
Citing evidence.
Rachel, you feel good about that?
Is that, that's kind of like, putting quotes, right, from.
Exactly, yeah,
Yes.
using quotes and then letting me know where they come from, okay? That's really important, right? Some of us forgot to do that in the mini essay assignment. You know, you had some amazing quotes, but where's the page, right? It's like an example of what it's supposed to look like. By the way, when it comes to citing, that's all you need when working with one source. You just need the page number. You don't need to write the letter P with a period and then that, okay? You don't need to keep quoting Sandra Cisneros' name. We only need that when we're using multiple sources and we're changing back and forth, right? Because you want to help the reader understand, well, is this from Cisneros or is this from Paredes? You know, is this from this source or is this from that source? But when we're using the same one, just the page number is good enough, okay? So citing evidence can be helpful. That's a good strength to have. Are there any other things that we do feel confident with?
Writing complete sentences.
Good, good. Writing complete sentences. Yeah, you know, I was pleasantly surprised to see that I think this is a general skill our class has, okay? This is not always the case for English 100. Oftentimes it's, I mean, I've chosen these grammar errors to work with because in my past experience, I've seen this too much, right? So I agree. Thank you, Yesenia, for bringing that one in, okay? Hey, that's one less thing to worry about when you're editing later, right? Hey, I've got this down. I'm pretty solid with it. And if you don't, okay, that's something structural we can work with. We can fix that, okay? Good. So we've got a few things, right, that a few of us feel good with. What are some things, though, that we're still struggling with?
Making a claim.
Making the claim, right? This is, Rachel's laughing because she and I were talking about this before class, right? But
And it's making a claim only because, we have to make it debatable.
Yep.
And most of the information, they're true statements. So it's hard, well, for me, it's hard to make it debatable.
When you're saying most of it is true statements, you mean most of the things that you think of right away are true statements, or?
Like, most of the claims that I think about, it's like, they're true, like things that happen to Esperanza.
Got it, right? Like she wants a house. That's
Yeah.
almost like factual, right? That she wants a house, right? I mean, she literally says that within the first like page or two, or she'll say a real house, right? Now, when facts are very useful because we can use that to interpret. What does it mean that she wants a real house? What does it say about her that some houses are real and some houses don't meet the standard of what is real, right? That's how you turn it into analysis. That's how you turn it into something debatable, because now it's subject to interpretation. If you were to say something like, Esperanza's desire for a house, a real house, is a sign of shame. Okay, now we have something debatable here because it doesn't literally say that in the story, but we've taken something literal from the story and we've attached an analytical perspective to it, right? It's a sign of an emotion. Something material has become, or is an indicator of something psychological, right? So facts are great. They're just not claims, right? But they can help you make a claim. So if all you can do is think about the fact, okay, good, accept that, write it down, and then put an equal sign next to it, okay? And what does that mean, right? And you cannot write, she wants a real house means she wants a real house. It's like, what is that, okay? You know, in this case, this is where the interpretation comes in, okay? We have to use other information. This is where compare and contrast helps us, okay? The idea that she says real house, okay, means that there are houses out there that are not real, that don't qualify, okay? Why are some houses real and others are not, okay? You know, that we have to look at the character for something like that, okay? Okay, so good. I'm really happy that Rachel brought up making claims as a struggle, in the sense that, you know, my other class on Tuesday didn't even bring up making claims. And that actually concerned me because it wasn't on the strength side and it wasn't on the weakness side, okay? And what it meant to me was they were overlooking a really important skill that we all need to work on, okay? Making claims gets the paper going. It helps you make sense of the paper. It gives direction. And it's your opportunity to speak. Okay, I don't want to reread Sandra Cisneros' novel when I look at your paper, right? I don't want just a bunch of quotes, right? I can just turn to her novel for that, okay? What I want is to see what you see, and a claim helps me see that, okay? It gives me your perspective, all right? So, making claims, yes, that should be on everyone's list. It can be on both sides. You might feel confident with it, but it's also something you think you need to work on. You need to get more confidence with it, okay? The answer is yes, I agree. Other things that we would like, that we need to improve on. How do you guys feel about support sandwiches? Karina, you feel like it needs work? Okay. The support sandwich has 3 parts, okay? Context, quote, analysis. You need to know that so well, right? That it becomes automatic. Okay, as soon as you're putting a quote in, you're like, oh, I got to put context in front of that. And I need to finish it with analysis, okay? So that you need to become a broken record. I'm going to be a broken record with, and that needs to be a refrain. Okay, it's got to be like it almost has to have a rhythm, okay, in your head that it needs to get stuck. Karina, is there a specific part of context, quote, and analysis?
I don't know how to like fit that in.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to write that up
And I
here.
don't know how much of it to put in.
Okay. Well, to keep it simple, I would say you need at least 1 sentence of context, okay? Context, quote, analysis. Okay, so for context, right? You should have at least a sentence of context, and your guide for context is the quote. What basic information from the story do I need? Do I need my reader to understand? Okay, in order for them to accept this analysis, okay? So like, for instance, if your quote is when Esperanza says she feels like a balloon tethered to an anchor, right? And she's talking about her sister Nenny. If you don't tell me she's talking about her sister Nenny, okay, I have no idea what to do with that. I'm missing important details from that quote, okay? So you should keep it to the basics, right? Who's talking to who, okay? Why are they talking to each other? I think if you answer those basic things, that's going to help a lot, okay? So let's write that up here. Okay, so for context, I think if you answer those 3 questions, and you can do that in like 1 or 2 sentences, that will help. Okay, that'll give me some basic information that I need as a reader, okay, as someone reading your argument. Okay, now this is, I do say something to this effect in the PowerPoint on making a point in a paragraph in the week 2 module, okay? So when I get to that last question, well, how can you improve? Reviewing the lecture presentations, that will help, okay? Looking at my comments on your mini essay. Sometimes this thing that we think we need to work on is not what our professor thinks we need to work on, okay? I can't tell you how many times I have students that are worried about word choice, right? When they don't have a thesis statement. It's like, a word here or there, maybe that's like a point or 2 on a 100-point paper. But if you don't have a thesis, that's 15 points, okay? 15% of your grade is your thesis statement, okay? You're focused on the wrong thing, all right? So when we're talking about how do we improve, it's a combination of looking at resources we have and looking at feedback from others, okay? So look at the mini essay, look at things that I wrote that you did well, look at some things that I think you need to improve on, okay? For something like this, okay, look at the mini essay. What did I think of your support sandwiches? Go back to the week 2 module where I introduced what a support sandwich is and review those slides, okay? Now, when it comes to, when do we do these things for you, okay? I think it's probably best that you do these things after you write your rough draft, okay? Because these are editing stage things, right? Honing up, sharpening certain skills, okay? It's easier once you've got something written out to go back and look at, okay, I've got something to work with here. Now what's missing? Fill in what's missing, okay? So when it comes to how do we make these skills better, save that for the editing stage, okay? All right.
How about analysis? Do we just give like an example? Can we give an example, or do we just like interpret what we came up with the quote and the context?
Yeah, so analysis is interpreting, okay? I'm going to show you actually. I posted a couple of resources this week in the week 5 module on analysis, okay? I just want to say analysis is important, okay? And that is definitely where you get to demonstrate higher level thinking. But if we imagine writing skills as a pyramid, okay, analysis is more like to the top. And by that, I mean, you need some foundational pillars, some foundational stones, right? It's like before you get up there at the top, okay? That being your problem, your thesis, your topic sentence claims, okay? And then having evidence, okay? Those are things that are first, right? So while I did provide you with a resource for analysis, because I know some of us are ready to focus on that. If you're struggling with making claims and finding quotes to back those claims up, okay? Analysis is not your priority right now. You need some of the more foundational skills first, okay? I think I'm going to create an infographic with that. This is the first time I visualized writing skills as a pyramid, right? But I want you to think about your claims, okay, as the foundational, the building block, the thing that's at the bottom, okay? Everything else comes on top of those claims, okay? You don't know what's evidence until you know what you're claiming, okay? All of these things are relational, okay? Yes, there is something in the week 5 module to help you with analysis. There is a voice thread where I actually demonstrate an analysis. So, you guys are in my Puente English 100S. When I teach this to a non-Puente course, we use another novel. It's called Ask the Dust. It's a great novel. I highly recommend it. But there's a character in that novel. There's a young person figuring out what to do with their life, okay? They are a writer, or I should say that this individual wants to become a great writer, okay? But he has writer's block, okay? So how is he going to become a great writer when he's got writer's block? Your job is to produce and he can't do it, okay? So anyway, the voice thread that I posted is called Gathering and Analyzing Evidence. It's in the week 5 module. And that walks you through looking at a passage from the story and how I interpret the details from that passage, okay? And how I organize that. And right below that voice thread, I have a handout, okay, for how to organize those things, okay? So feel free to come on in.
This one?
Yeah, this one's just not turning on right now. I turned on the tower down here. Usually that pops on. I push that button there. I'm not getting anything. The handout is called a process for analyzing evidence. Okay. I do believe that will help you organize your ideas, and surprise, surprise, what's at the top? You need a claim first. If you don't have a claim, it's going to be hard for you to direct your analysis. Pardon me? Good to go. Okay, what did I miss?
It was just kind of bit off.
Oh, that's good for me to know. All right, so this one here.
Yeah.
All right.
Sometimes like when they pull it monitor up.
Yeah. Okay, I will check for that next time. I appreciate it.
No worries.
Thank you. Okay. So your claim is your guide, okay? I've got the area for the reason, obviously the source, because for this first essay, we're only using one source, but this handout will help you later in the semester when we're using multiple sources. So that's why I have that there. And then in that middle section, I have what's called a T-chart. The left column is where you put the quote, okay? And on the right is where you put the interpretation, the analysis. And when you are analyzing something, it needs to be so specific, you can put your fingertip on the quote and you can point to a particular word, right? This means this other thing, okay? So like in the example I gave, if we have some quote about Esperanza wanting a real house, okay? Real house, right, is something I can put, like those two words, I can put my finger on, and then I would put an equal sign, and on the other part, I would write shame, okay? Now, that's a bold interpretation. There's a lot of work I need to do to explain that, okay? There's probably not enough with that one quote or those two words by themselves, but let's say there are other words in that quote that say that something like, I don't belong, or I feel rejected, right? Or they were laughing at me. Now I can start to use these other words in the quote to help me to construct this idea that somehow this is shame, okay? So when it comes to analysis, it all starts with the tip of your finger and a quote. You've got to be able to point to specific words and then pull those out and interpret them. What do they mean, okay? Now, I said this earlier, I'm going to say it again. Sometimes we might be struggling with coming up with a claim. Fine then, jump into the evidence. Okay, pull out of one quote that you think is important and start listing all of the different ways that you would interpret it. Okay, one of those might stick and stand out to you. Circle one of those, that can be your claim. Now you write that up at the top, okay? So anyway, yeah, this week, the new thing is, how do we analyze something? Okay, and I provide a model for that with the voice thread, okay? All right, so I mean, right there, you guys have your body paragraph. You got to start with the claim, and then you got to back it up with support, okay? You know, the other thing that we have to work on is the introduction, okay? If you have not written your rough draft yet, okay, I want you to make an attempt at the introduction, okay? Now, there are 3 parts to the intro. The part that you need to at least make an attempt with is the thesis statement, because as I said, that one sentence, or maybe 2 sentences if you're more, by the way, that's not a rule that it has to be 1 sentence, okay? It can be combined, like 2 sentences or so. That is worth 15 points out of this 100-point paper. There is no 1 or 2 sentences by themselves that will get you more points, okay? So, I want you all, if you haven't done so already on your rough draft, to make an attempt at that thesis statement. So let's go back to the prompt, because the prompt gives us the problem that we need to answer, and the answer is your thesis. And what I would do while I'm looking for the prompt, take out your Google Doc or your Microsoft Word file. Okay, wherever your rough draft is, and if you don't have one yet, fine, open this thing up, okay? And I'm going to encourage you right now to copy and paste this line from the prompt. As soon as this thing stops loading. This is impossible. God. All right. Let's go to the week 4 module. And you can see essay 1 prompt. You should, if you can, print this prompt out, have it next to you the whole time. Okay, turn the prompt into a checklist. Okay. When you get something done, cross it out. It feels good. All right. But here is the main question that you got to answer in this paper. Write that at the top of your rough draft. How does Esperanza's mindset change from the beginning of the story to the end? What insight does she gain? You have 3 questions to answer in your thesis statement. What is she like in the beginning? What is she like in the end? What's the new idea that she has that transforms her? Okay, that's what insight is, a transformative idea, okay? So right now, I want you to work on your rough drafts, okay? Take out whatever you need to write and get writing. If you've already submitted a rough draft, okay, another thing that can help you write is by reading what others have, and that's where the peer review comes into place, okay? So I'm going to give you some options here. You can work on your rough draft, or you can work on the peer review, okay? If you're interested in working on the peer review, remember I sent out the announcement with a screenshot walkthrough. By the way, if for some reason I give you something and it's not working, please tell me right away so I can fix it. I will give you 2 points of extra credit, okay? So in another class, the screenshots did not come through for the peer review, okay? I had a student tell me that, and so I'm gonna go fix that for them. Sometimes that happens for you guys. Like I said, there's a link and there's not, right? Or for some reason, the settings aren't right on Turnitin and they're not accepting, you know, your paper. So when you see something, say something, okay? I will go fix it. You know, if it's something like that, then I'll give you a couple of extra credit points, okay? If there's a typo, you can tell me. I'm not going to give you extra credit points for pointing out a typo. All right, so if you're interested in working on the peer review as a way to help you, you can only do this if you wrote 2 full pages. Check out the announcement titled Accessing the Peer Review, okay? That will walk you through the different steps. But unmute yourself, ask me questions, type questions into the chat. I want you working on your rough drafts right now. And feel free to ask any questions. Okay, so obviously you can continue to work on your drafts after this. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. One, one of the lecture pages lists the steps involved in writing, as I see them, okay? Each of us will have to figure out what process works best for ourselves, okay? But while you're figuring that out, let me recommend these steps in this order, okay? They build on each other, okay? The first thing is you need to understand the prompt, and that's why I've returned to it to remind you of that critical question that needs to be answered. From there, you need to pick a topic, right? And that's essentially kind of when you start to answer that question, it's going to help you pick out a topic, right? How does Esperanza develop? What's she like at the beginning? You know, what is she like at the end? Other things that we did to help you pick out a topic. What does she want, right? When we remember what she wants, and then we keep in mind how she develops, we understand what's significant, what matters. Because is the way she's developing, is that helping her get what she wants? Is it preventing her? Maybe her process changes what she wants. It's no longer this other thing, it becomes something new, right? So we've got to refine, we have to pick our topic and refine it. From there, we have to work on the problem. Now, I've given you the problem to some extent, okay? But you make it your own when you answer the question, what it is that she wants and what gets in the way of that, okay? Once you've answered that question, what's blocking her from getting what she wants and how is that related to her development? You've got a good problem. You're ready to write that middle section of the introduction. From there, we need to respond to that problem, okay? That's the thesis statement, okay? How is she in the beginning? How is she at the end? What is the insight that she has? Now, this other lecture page is what follows on reasons, okay? Forming the body of your paper. Reasons are like claims, okay? You know, when we say something like, okay, Esperanza has shame, you know, well, how do you know this? Well, because she's embarrassed about her house, right? That's actually a claim. You have to go prove that she's embarrassed by her house. You've got to give me quotes, right, for that. But you can see how those things are related. Well, it works on two levels. We know how it works in a mini essay, in a body paragraph. We make a little claim, we provide a reason, and then we have our evidence, right? Works the same way for the whole paper. Your thesis is a claim. The reasons, like what makes you believe that she's this way in the beginning? What makes you believe she's this way at the end? Those are because statements that follow. Those are reasons. Those reasons become your topic sentence claims for all of the paragraphs that follow, okay? They work like a blueprint. So your thesis, okay, organizes the whole paper, right? If it's done well, if you follow those steps. So you can imagine I'm just gonna keep this short here, just right. Beginning mindset, right? Ending mindset. Insight. Okay, well, this is the paragraph symbol that I'm going to write here. Okay, if you've never seen that before, all right? Just means body paragraph number one. What do you think body paragraph number one is going to be about? The beginning mindset. Okay, So this may seem like repetition. It is, but it's strategic repetition, okay? So some of us I know have probably experienced English instructors saying, oh, you're repeating your ideas, right? Well, that is okay to do in some cases, right? When it comes to being strategic about it, repeating it for structural purposes, that is fine. Because in a thesis, you're introducing big ideas, but in your body paragraphs, you're breaking them down into smaller ideas that you then have to show evidence for, okay? Now, I'm not saying you should use the same exact words, but the idea should be the same. What is Esperanza's mindset early in the book, okay? Well, you claim it here, okay? And then you actually claim it in your topic sentence for paragraph 1. But now you got to prove it. And that is not your responsibility in the thesis. In the thesis sentence itself, you're not supposed to give the evidence for it, okay? It's a setup. The whole introduction is a list of claims. You're claiming what you think everybody thinks about Esperanza, what we all seem to know about her. You're claiming what you think the problem is, okay? And you are claiming how she develops. Those are all a bunch of claims. There's no evidence that comes. There are reasons, right? You do need to give some detail, but those are just reasons. That's not the same thing as evidence, okay? So think of your intro as a way to outline your paper, okay? What do we know about her in the beginning? That's topic sentence number 1, okay? And remember, I think you should have, and I say this at different times in lecture, I think you should have 4 body paragraphs for this paper, at least plan for 4 body paragraphs. That means you've got to make 4 separate points, okay? Your last point is, it's either the ending mindset or it's insight, okay? These 2 might be together, all right? That's okay. It's also possible you may argue she achieves this insight somewhere here in the middle, and that causes her to develop in a new way. That's up to you and the evidence you can find to support your claims, okay? So let's just assume the most concrete way to end it is the ending mindset. Oops. Okay. For those of you who are struggling to make sense, okay, of your work, it's probably because you're struggling to make claims, okay? So it's this middle portion here, step 5, that you're probably stuck at. You should be working on this area before you start looking for evidence and analyzing it. However, right, writing is a flexible process. Sometimes jumping into the actual language can help us brainstorm these things here, right? So you just got to find what works for you. Some of us are planners and we need to get step 5 first, okay? And some of us are a little bit more intuitive. We've got to work with the language itself and the ideas will come from there. Be flexible, okay? You're working out what your process is, but you're right in this area here, okay? So work on making your claims, okay? I recommend doing that first. Be flexible, look at the language, and then go back and revise your claims. It's a process of back and forth, okay? After you've got these things, then you're ready to draft the body of the paper, okay? Because once you have your evidence to back up claims, now it's about plugging in context. That's pretty easy, right? Context, as we've said, is just factual information. Who's talking to who and why, okay? Don't sweat about context. Analysis, like I said, is a higher level skill. I want to see it in the paper, but that's not going to make up a huge portion of your grade. That'll move you from the B to the A. But you want to make sure you're at least in that B range, right? Because the B range gives you the best opportunity to improve, right? To get the highest level that you can get, right? The A. As long as you have as long as you have all the structural elements, context, problem, and response in your introduction, claim, reason, and 2 support sandwiches in all your body paragraphs, the conclusion, the MLA format, you have those elements, you're going to probably get a B, right? And you meet the length requirement. That's a lot though, right? And so we got to accept that. You guys are just learning what's needed in the paper, okay? So my point is, don't sweat the analysis too much. Do the best you can with it, okay? But that's really going to move you from the B to the A range, all right? Okay, so this is a suggested series of steps, okay? It's not required. I just think that they help if you follow in that order. All right. And then the other thing that I had for you was a little video about finding the feedback on the mini essay, okay? And that is also in the week 5 module. For those of you in class, I can get there faster. Okay, so in the week 5 module, it is below the rough draft. And I'm going to publish the problematic peer review. I want you all to see how not to do a peer review. Okay, there it is, video feedback on the mini essay. Hi everyone, I wanted to make a quick video to show you how you. All right, there's the video there. And for those of you at home, you can see video feedback on mini essay. Hi everyone, I wanted to make it. Okay, so the thing that I wanted to point out here is not only how do you find the mini essay, but what do my comments look like, okay? So I'm gonna go to about the middle part of the video. I think that shows that best. Did, or what wasn't, what I did not. Okay. Let's go here. Okay. All right, what you can see in the middle of your screen, right, is from your gradebook view. So if you go and look at your grades, you will see a little maybe hyperlink that says comments or view feedback. If you select that, you'll see feedback in 2 places. You will see this area over here on the far right of the screen, for those of you who are looking at my share screen at home, okay? This area right over here. I will provide comments there, okay? You'll probably also be able to see the rubric scale over there. Sometimes I will also highlight portions of your writing, okay? Because I want to point out, oh, this is a claim, okay? For some of you who struggled with writing claims, you won't see anything highlighted up here. I actually will highlight something lower in the paper and I'll be like, there's your claim, and it's usually in the analysis, right? That should be right here at the top of the paragraph, okay? I do color code my comments. Usually blue is what I save for claims. If you see green, it's for grammar, okay? The rest of the stuff I'm a little more loose with, yellow, red, and orange, right? None of it means bad. It's just, you know, this is what I'm attending to, this structural element. So if you see a highlight, it's possible that I wrote comments in that highlight. If you just drag your cursor over it and select it, you'll be able to see a thought bubble that will pop up that explains where my claim is at, okay? So you can see there's the highlight there, and those are my comments on it right there. Okay. So please review those. I think you should do that maybe in the editing stage, okay? At this point, if you've read the novel, you have enough, just go write, okay? Even if you have not finished reading the novel, if you've read the first 30 pages, you actually still have enough to at least write a page, because you can write about Esperanza's beginning mindset, okay? You have enough there for that. Of course, you're not going to be able to write the rest of the paper until you read the rest of the novel, Okay. All right. Well, any questions before we conclude today's session? Because by the time I see you next week, you will have one day to submit the final draft, right? Now, next week, we're going to focus on grammar, right? It's probably the best time to look at that. You know, we'll talk maybe a little bit more about some of these other skills, but the emphasis will be on proofreading, on making sure we're spelling things right, making sure that we understand what a fragment is. Really, it's going to be about run-ons. Okay, that was a recurring error I saw in mini essays. I did not take points off in the mini essay for it, but for the final essay, I will. And that's because run-ons, that will be posted on Monday of next week. Okay, that little lecture, we will review it in class on Thursday. And I will actually ask you to work on editing. So for next Thursday, have your rough drafts with you, okay? Be prepared to start editing them with me in class. All right, I will make sure we have much more time than what I gave today. All right, any questions before I close out today's session? I'm going to check the chat. I don't see anything at the moment. All right, well, my last suggestion is write, just write, okay? Don't think, just do it, okay? It's not gonna be perfect. I can't help you until I have something to look at. So please just submit what you have, okay? Give yourself the deadline, get it done within the next day, okay? All right, everyone, have a good week. I will see you on Thursday.